Hi, my name is Shawna Bowen, and welcome to Zero Relapse for Loved Ones Free Support Now. I am so glad that you're joining me, and I first off just want to say that if you are watching this right now, most likely you have someone in your life that you care for, that you love, perhaps a family member that is suffering from an addiction, alcoholism, drug addiction, something like that, and that you are very worried for this person, as well as probably feeling chaotic, resentful, tired, feeling taken advantage of, angry, perhaps even some grief, hopelessness. If you relate to that, I'm hoping that this can really start to help you and give you some support as you start to work with your family and the addict in your home, or perhaps in your family system, to really help you kind of organize yourself to respond to the addict appropriately. So I'm going to go through 3 tips that I think might be helpful right off the bat. First tip that I would really want to talk with someone that is dealing with an addict in their life is, I think a lot of times the family member or the loved one, if you've never dealt with an addiction or never been close to an addiction before, that I think what happens is a lot of times the family members and the parents tend to kind of really end up with a lot of assumptions and presumptions about what's going on with the addict. And I think when you don't understand what addiction is, what chemical dependency is, what addict thinking is, then what happens is you tend to take the addict's actions and decisions and behaviors personally. And when that interaction happens, that's where the chaos and the anger and the sadness and the resentment is coming from, is that in a way you're taking your loved one's sickness personally. So one of the first tips I would want to offer anybody that's dealing with this is really become educated about what addiction really is. A general definition that I use a lot is addiction is someone who continues to use despite adverse consequences. That's a very general yet very tight definition for addiction, and I'll say it again. Addiction is when someone continues to use despite adverse consequences. So if you can kind of see that with the person that you're concerned for, more likely than not, they're probably dealing with some sort of addiction. The other thing that would be important to know is that someone doesn't wake up one day and they're chemically dependent. There's kind of like a slope of progression that gets someone to a place where they cannot stop. So I don't know where your family member may be on that kind of spectrum, but it's really important to kind of know is what is the difference of casual use to abuse, to heavy abuse, to chemical dependency, so that you can also, again, kind of really understand what is addiction. I think addiction is a very complex, cruel sickness. And to really know about that, it would kind of be like any family member that has a loved one that gets diagnosed with like cancer or diabetes or something, that if you love that person, you're really going to want to know, what are they sick with? So that would be my first tip to you, is understand what addiction is and what addict thinking and behavior is, so you can start to kind of peel away not taking their behavior personally. And I know that is way easier said than done, but it's a start. The second tip that I would really want to tell a parent or a loved one is to really understand what is enabling. Maybe you've been accused of this. Maybe you've even fought with a spouse over this, or another family member, or a friend. Maybe a therapist, or I don't know, a drug court judge has perhaps accused you of enabling. My problem with this is parents and loved ones get accused of enabling an addict, but that's kind of like the end of the story. And I'm dissatisfied with that. If you're going to accuse someone of enabling, especially like a parent or a loved one, like in the tight family system, you got to give them some information and support. So I want to do that right here. I'm going to give you a definition of enabling that I like to work with when I'm working with family members of an addict. And I'm looking at my notes to make sure that I get this right, because it's very important. Enabling are the actions that a parent or loved one of an addict does that prevents the addict from receiving the natural consequences of their behavior. Okay, so I'll say that again. Enabling are the actions that loved ones of an addict take to prevent the addict from receiving the natural consequences of their using behavior. That is like a foundation of what enabling is. If you relate to this, it's okay. I think most parents and family members do relate to this to some extent. And so I want to just first say, if you love this person, it is very easy to fall into enabling and not know you're doing it. Because the probation officer or the lawyer or the drug court judge, they don't love this person. You do. And that's the difference. When a judge says you need to stop enabling, they don't have the relationship you have. And so it's really important for the family member or the parent to really start to pull those threads apart about what is it for a parent to love a child that's addicted, that's suffering from some sort of an addiction, and what it means to enable a child that's an addict. Because those are two separate things. And what happens is they get all messy and tangled. And so I talk about this a lot in my Zero Relapse for Loved Ones course, is how to really be that loving parent, be that supportive family member, but to no longer enable the addiction, but to still love the person. I hope that makes sense. So that would be my second tip. Really understand enabling and how you identify with that, and then start to heal that. Third tip, this is huge. This may help you understand why you're feeling so tired and resentful all the time. For the addict, when they get to a point where they need to be using every day, that would be kind of like a chemical dependency where they cannot get through the day without using, or they're going to feel very sick or uncomfortable. When they're in that place, the addict is going to do whatever they have to keep using and to not receive a consequence, okay? So what happens is if you're living with that person or you're close with this person, the addict is going to have to become a master manipulator. They're going to have to become this like master con artist because they have to keep using and not have anybody get in their way, especially family or the law. And so what happens is you have family members that are watching this very severe manipulator kind of going at everybody so that they can keep using. And what happens for the family is they're taking it personally and they're feeling very taken advantage of. They're feeling fooled, they're feeling disrespected, and they're feeling angry and kind of, I don't know if this has ever happened, where you're having a fight with the addict, you're trying to say no, somehow they manipulate you, they do 3 different things, and all of a sudden you say yes, and they're out the door, and then you're sitting there going, what just happened? How did I just say yes to that? How did I just allow him to go out the door one more time? And so really understanding that addicts have to be con artists. They have to manipulate to keep going. And so this really ties into, if you identify with enabling, that kind of wraps up with when you get manipulated. And so a lot of times the parents or the loved ones might just give in and let the addict keep going. That's how enabling happens, is you're literally keeping the addict sick. It's kind of like you're housing them and feeding them and comforting them and perhaps cleaning up after them, instead of really allowing them to kind of fall a little bit and to feel some discomfort so that they can start creating the insight to consider sobriety. So really understanding manipulative behavior, really understanding how you can organize yourself to kind of not buy into the manipulation is going to be very helpful. In my Zero Relapse for Loved Ones program, we really talk extensively about how to kind of create a new way in your home, a new way within yourself, where you are really kind of standing up for yourself and standing up for kind of like the integrity and the peace of your home. And what happens is there's really this formula on how to create the environment for the addict to consider sobriety sooner. And I think that's what every family member wants, is for the addict to just get clean and sober, to just finally admit they have a problem and to go get help. So in the program, we really kind of talk about how do you create that environment in the home. So those are 3 tips. I'm going to give you a 4th and give you a little bonus, because I think this one's super important as well. For anyone that cares for someone who's suffering from an addiction, you absolutely have to start practicing self-care. And for some of you out there, you may not even know what I'm talking about. Self-care is decisions and actions that you do to take care of you. What I've seen a lot with families that have an addict is that everything starts to be about the addict, that they have forgotten themselves. They have forgotten what it's like to have their own life, to pursue their own happiness, to feel peace in their own home. And so one of the things I really want to reiterate is practice self-care right now. Even if the addict in no way, shape, or form looks like they want to consider sobriety, practicing self-care and really making that a part of your life right now is going to help everything, because you need to feel healthy, you need to feel happy, you need to feel rejuvenated and ready to create this environment so that they're going to consider sobriety sooner. So self-care, self-care, self-care. So I hope that these tips were helpful. I hope that this helps you gain some support and some ideas about what to do next. If you liked what you heard and you want to know more, you want to learn more, please go back to my website, zerorelapse.com, and you can take a look at the programs. And the one that would be really good for you would be Zero Relapse for Loved Ones. So I hope this was helpful, and I wish you luck on your journey in really reclaiming your family and your life. Thanks.